last blue dot is the lowest level. So if we feed in all this information, okay, what happens is in every step there is some information that is carried from the input to the next level. It's called neurons. Okay, these neurons, there's just a mathematical equation which says that okay, if I am able to combine all the inputs from the first level, that is green, make some mathematical transformation, put some weights, and that's how the first orange level develops. Okay, these orange neurons, they in turn feed into the next level, okay, of the orange levels, and they just the mathematical combinations. Okay, and you do not have to worry about what will be the mathematical equation that will feed, because these things are already been implemented, okay, by most of the companies. You just have to understand that this is the way things work. We need to train a model by giving them many examples, so that these orange circles, they adjust their weights, their mathematical functions in such a way that every time example, something like came in the past, they will be able to mimic that behavior in the blue circle. Okay, so this is called a neural network model. Okay, so there are multiple applications to it. Think about the speech recognition. Think about something that you do in the Google. Okay, so I'll give you another example about machine learning, and that's something that I worked on. So what happens is that when you see in a factory is made of multiple components. Okay, they're all working together so that the whole company's pipeline will work. Okay, if any one of the component breaks down, what will happen? The entire factory shuts down, right? Because every component must play its part. Okay, so the factory shut down. What is it called? It's called a downtime. Okay, this downtime is very expensive for a company. So what is the way to reduce the downtime? You need to be able to replace the broken part there and then. You know, it's called the downtime minimization problem. Okay, so whenever if some part broke, if the part was already available at the position where it broke, then it just needs a technician to be able to come and replace it, right? And then the machine is up and running. Okay, so for this thing to, but there's another problem. You cannot have a lot of inventory of the spare parts at those potential breaking sites, right? Why? Because it will also add to the cost. There's a storage problem, there's a cost problem, there's a multiple problems. So what you have to do, we need to be able to predict, okay, which part is going to break, okay, and before breaking, I have to have the replacement part available there, okay, enough so that my downtime is less. Okay, and this is called survival analytics. Okay, survival analytics works in this way. So there are two mice. Okay, guinea pigs. Okay, it's a very good example to see how these vaccines are developed. So two guinea pigs, they were given two vaccines. Okay, there's a red guinea pig and there's a blue pig. Okay, the blue guinea pig died after 300 days. Okay, eventually everyone dies, right? But if someone dies within 300 days, and then the red guinea pig survived that particular window, what does that mean? That it is more effective from the red one, right? What exactly do you see if you have more and more? So you can predict which guinea pig is going to die when. Am I making sense? Eventually everyone is going to die because of some treatment, because of some condition. Okay, their deteriorating pattern is actually determined. Okay, which one? Someone is deteriorating fast, someone is deteriorating slow. Okay, this deteriorating pattern that can be learned through a survival analytics. Of course, multiple examples, many examples. And statistics plays a very important role in to be able to understand these patterns. So what happens when we have all these? When we have these patterns, what we see is that we can say that a machine number one, okay, that broke down in some point of time. Okay, Machine 2 broke down at some point, another point of time. Machine 3, machine 4 does not has not broken down yet. So what do we know about machine 1 and machine 2? The pattern is that we know that they have survived till a point of time, and then we know their time of origin, that is the time they were operated, and the time that they broke down. Okay. For machine 3 and machine 4, we do not know that, but somehow the learnings from machine 1 and machine 2 will influence the operation of the knowledge of machine 3 and machine 4 as well. So survival analytics, okay. So we know about blue, but we know that red will survive beyond blue, okay. But sometimes the red will also die down, right? Sometimes the red will also hit the baseline, and that's actually called the time of death, okay. So what survival analytics does is that when a machine is in operation, we will be able to predict based on the historical pattern which machine operated from which time to which time, and the what conditions and how did they do, that we will be able to know how long this is going to last, okay. So I can say this machine is going to last 10 days, okay, and today I'm already on the 8th day. Okay, so definitely I should have the spare parts of that machine, because in 2 days I'm expecting it to break down. In 2 days it did not break down, no problem. At least I'm ready. You know, in 3 days, in 4 days, 5 days, whenever. At least I'm ready. So that by that way, what I'm doing is like I'm managing an inventory, and this inventory is going to solve a problem for me. But the kind of problem that I will minimize the downtime. Okay, so this survival analytics is something that you can use in multiple applications. Think about a company. They have employees, and the employees in India, of course, this is a very terrible country, because people, they change jobs like anything. Why? Because of course people don't think that they are satisfied with their salary, so very now and then they change job. Okay, but the company has to know, because of the stability of the company, they will have to know which employees are going to last and which employees are going to go, and if there is a performing employee, and if the model shows that they are about to leave, then of course the company can take a proactive measure to be able to retain the employee. So it is just not on the machine, it is also working on the employee parts. Okay, and there are multiple applications you can think that you can take a proactive step before the event happening, so that you are able to arrest the event from happening. If you know that an employee is going to leave and he is a potentially good employee, okay, so I need to give them those incentives that okay, if you like, we will sponsor your MBA course. So, but with an MBA course, we will ask you to work for 5 more years, and the employee thinks okay, MBA is going to add good to my career. So that's way you are actually extending the longevity of the employee in the company. Okay, so there are multiple applications like that. Okay, so if you ask what exactly, I'll just go back a bit. Yeah, traditional programming. What was traditional programming all about? You had rules, you had data, you will manipulate the rules on the data to be able to find answers. Machine learning changed the whole idea. It says you have the answers from your previous experience, right? And you have the data, because data is obvious data. From those answers in the data, you are able to find out rules. You know who left. This is the answers. You have data, operating conditions. You can find a rule that generally people leave whenever they are of this nature. You see, so he changed the whole thing. Okay, it does not mean that programming is obsolete. It does not mean you have to do a lot of programming now, but the programming you have to do in a different way. The whole paradigm of programming has changed. So now you have to program using a lot of statistics to be able to find rules, utilize rules to be able to solve a business problem. Okay, so for those who came late, I just wanted to say that the evolution of data science has happened because mostly of 3 factors. One, the data has been available because of the implementation of IT solutions in most of the companies, that they were able to collect the operation data. The storage of data became cheap, and the computing power became very cheap. And that actually helped most of the companies to be able to afford a machine learning department in their facility. Okay, so this is the reason machine learning is happening now. It's going to stay. It's just going to improve. Okay. So, I just wanted to make that sense. Why are we in this slide? In this slide, we are trying to say what? Because of the learning of the past and because of the operating conditions, we are able to develop some rules. Okay? And these rules help us to operate the business in a different way. Now, the decision is taken by data. How can data take decisions? Because data is able to give us some rules because of what happened in the past. We know something happened in the past, there were the answers. We know the data, though they will apply the answers, then they will find out rules. Okay, this is the time when we should take this strategy or this strategy. So there was always this idea called HIPPO, highest employee paid in an organization. Right? So this HIPPO was what? The CEO takes the decision. Even if there is a wrong decision, there is no way to analyze. Okay. It will take some time for the company to suffer a lot before they could fire the CEO. Okay. Now, with this help of this machine learning, the CEO will be able to utilize or augment this information with the help of these machine learning algorithms, how to take decisions. Okay. So now the machine learning helps take decisions in much better, much more informed way. Why informed? Because otherwise the HIPPO, the CEO of a company, he will just do it from a gut feeling. Here, the machine is telling us, no, this what we know has happened in the past. The past generally repeats itself until unless there is an anomaly. Like of course, machine learning will crash in times of COVID. Why? Because we do not have historical data of COVID from where the machine learning started, right? But if this machine learning, this COVID times, when it passes, we'll have a much more learned experience, and if there is another pandemic or COVID happened, we'll be able to deal with it with machine learning much better way. Okay. So, one of the very promising field. What's the time? 9:33, and I will leave some time for question answer. So, what we are talking about is the greatest innovation that happened, and that's where most of the jobs are, and that's where I will request you to concentrate most of your energy and most of your time in. It's called natural language processing. Okay, I'm still working on a problem which is actually based on exactly the same problem. Okay, and I told some of the people who came from the beginning that there is a company which is having a problem that they have thousands of emails they receive from the candidates, and from these emails they need to know what should be a time that the appointments can be set, okay, between the interviewer and the candidate. The candidate is just like sending a mail, and that mail is, if you let the human decide, of course the human can do that, okay. And this company has like 20 or 30 employees who are sitting in every email and trying to understand the email and trying to understand, well, okay, what is the intention of this email. If the intention of the email is to schedule an appointment, let me find out what time is suitable and what time is suitable for the interviewer, and then I will be able to set an appointment. It's a very cumbersome process, and that's why I said what is the whole role of algorithm was. Algorithm is a term innovated in the 8th century Common Era by a great philosopher called Al-Khwarizmi. Al-Khwarizmi, from the Abbasid Caliphate time, quite a remarkable scholar. He actually gave rise to the whole idea that algorithm should be able to use to solve problems. Okay, Al-Khwarizmi. Check on that in some places. Okay, so and there's a lot of scientists who came at the same time. You know, it's like a bunch of people. There were people who were optical scientists, there were mechanical engineers, physicians. That was a great period of time in history where there were a lot of scientific innovations that was happening. Okay, so what we are talking about is algorithm. approach was, we'll take an email, every email, okay, let the machine understand what is the intent of the email, okay, and how do you know the intent of the email? I will ask these people who used to work manually, tell me what is the intention. I will give them 1,000 emails and then say, take this 1,000 email and tell me what is the intention of this email. Or say the intention of this email is to, for example, 50 or hundreds of this email, the intention is to reschedule. So from the 1,000 email, there are 100 email whose intention is to reschedule. So what do? What was unique about these 100 emails that actually translated into this class called reschedule? What we're doing? We're taking an email and we're classifying. This is for cancelling an appointment. This is for scheduling an appointment. This is for asking for further information about a job. This is for, so there are multiple classes, okay? Every email will go to one of the classes, okay? So when this email comes and goes to a class called reschedule, because there is some content in the email which is actually making a classification. This content has been understood by the human mind, but we want the machine to do that. So what we do, we use a neural network model that we showed. Remember this model that we talked about, okay? So all these green inputs is showing the words that are in the email. Okay, the email have like 500 words, okay? All the 500 words that get into these these green circles, okay? And these churnings of all these mathematical combinations comes out and gives me classes, the blue classes, okay? What is the intent of this email? Once I understand the intent, the computer understands, not I, okay? Then the next thing is to be able to understand if it is email to reschedule. Can we find from the email where is the times given? So I will say, I'm sorry, I'm not available on this date, but I will be able to take on this date. Okay. So there are two these dates, date A and date B. Date A is not an appointment date. Date B is an appointment date. Okay. Again, I can ask the human annotators, okay, who can look into all this and say, okay, these are wrong dates, these are right dates. Okay. This thing can again be fed into a model like this in the neural network and say, can we, because we have learned from the human experience, okay, if the position of the word date A, okay, in relationship with all the other words, I am not available, this is a clear word. The computer is not able to understand because just bits and bytes. But I'm making the computer understand because of the language models, okay. With the help of a language model, it's able to understand this date says it is the wrong date, this date this is the right date. So I'm able to learn a pattern and I'm able to feed a pattern. And what happens is that if an email with a rescheduled intent with some dates are given, I should be able to model a machine learning model, okay, to be able to mimic the human knowledge and give me the correct date of scheduling the appointment. This appointment, which is represented by the candidate, I will just look at the recruiter's calendar, whichever is available slot, I will set in the calendar invite and send it to all the participants, the interviewer as well as the candidate. This is an efficient way of solving a problem. Okay, this is the repeated work. If you see, repeated human minds are not meant to do repeated work; they are meant to do creative work. The repeated work is done by donkeys, right? And so when we are talking about why donkeys, because they do not have a mind. You know, if you ask a donkey, there is some donkeys for the place, they will keep on doing it. Computers are just like a slave to it means if you are able to know how to harness the energy of the computing power. So, the actual language processing, that's where I would suggest all the people who are interested in machine learning to invest on. There are a lot of resources. Institutions like St. Joseph, they conduct some seminars and courses, but there are also a lot of online resources. Like today, if anyone wants to learn anything in the world is your oyster. You should be able to log into some online free courses like Coursera, EDX, take some courses and learn and then enhance, come to groups. You know, the main part of the school now becomes making the people come together and create a organized way of learning. If you see what is the learning can happen through an online but that does not get collaborated. So what we see is the future of schools is that the schools will come and bring people together so that they will be able to collaborate together and create solutions. Okay. I wanted to show you a small video which actually, I don't know how to click here. So now any way to click? It's a very good video to see actually what is the application of natural language processing. Okay. Yeah. He happened to be from my institute, Sundar Pichai. I know all of you know him. Okay. Can we just, we don't have the volume that we kill. Okay.
You may want to get an oil change schedule, maybe call a plumber in the middle of the week, or even schedule a haircut appointment. You know, we are working hard to help users through those moments. We want to connect users to businesses in a good way. Businesses actually rely a lot on this, but even in the US, 60% of small businesses don't have an online booking system set up. We think AI can help with this problem. So let's go back to this example. Let's say you want to ask Google to make your haircut appointment on Tuesday between 10 and noon. What happens is the Google Assistant makes the call seamlessly in the background for you. So what you're going to hear is the Google Assistant actually calling a real salon to schedule the appointment for you. Let's listen.
Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like, what service is she looking for? Just a woman's haircut for now? Okay, we have it 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. is fine. Okay, what's your first name? The first name is Lisa? Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd. Okay, great. Thanks, great. Have a great day, bye.
That was a real call you just heard.
Yeah, you don't have to, you can watch this thing in your own time. You know, this is not the place to show you a video, but I just wanted to tell you what is possible. Okay. Natural language processing is actually one of the greatest things that is happening in the world of machine learning. Okay. And this is the thing I would like to talk about many things that is happening. Artificial intelligence, machine. Okay. I have actually shared the PPT with the college if you want to get it. Okay. So we'll stop here. Okay. And if there is any question, we'll take it. Because I just have like 15 minutes left. Yeah.
Any questions?
Any questions? If no questions, then I'm done. I'm saving 15 minutes. Okay.
Have you learned something new?
If you have learned something new, then you should contribute that. If need not be a question, it can be a comment as well, which will help all of us learn.
I did.
Any question, comments, anything? I can start with something. What about India? Where are we placed? Because we are working in India, right? Actually, it is actually a great place to be. Because of our advantage that we have a lot of talent pool, okay, and countries like US where there's a lot of demand, they have created this software industry boom in India because of that, because they are able to match up with the kind of requirement in the software solution that they have. So most of the work get delegated to India because of the infrastructure that's been built. So living in India, we find jobs in US. most of the things that you see here, that gets developed in a country like India. And that's the reason if you see most of the countries, the CEOs, okay, are from India. Why? Because most of the talent pool is coming from India. If they see their own face there, they feel motivated. They don't see they come working for a foreign unit with the right face. It's not like racist, but it's like it doesn't give the motivation. But if you see, I'm working with a company which have one of our own, it gives you a different kind of motivation. So I'm saying, being in India, we have a lot of opportunity. What it takes is for a willpower to be able to come to that level so that we can contribute. Okay, you are young. This is the right time to start. Any question or comments?
Saurabh? What have you learned out of it at least?
There's no bad question actually. Honestly, I don't think there's
Any questions?
question is the key to knowledge. So, if you have any question, any comments, please shoot. Else I can just go. And it will be a good day for me.
I would love to listen more, I think, sir. So the guys are enthusiastic.
It's quite good. Yeah, go ahead.
So what after artificial intelligence, what will be something above artificial intelligence? Is there something some particular job
Yes.
after artificial?
See, what happened is that when the cars came, okay, it revolutionized the whole transportation industry, right? Okay. How did it realize? It made everything, people used to think about transportation as horse and donkeys. Okay. And what had happened, and now it became cars. You know how many years it has taken for the cars to happen? 50 years, more. Still, if you think about beyond cars, cars are just becoming more and more efficient, more and more, robust, more and more environment friendly. So what is that? See, we see, I see AI is like that. We were in a very rudimentary steps few years back. This thing that we talked about, Google Assistant, impossible to think. In very few years, we were able to get a solution with that. Now we are already looking for self-driven car. It is completely built on AI. With lot of experience, with lot of, because you see, what is a self-driven car has to do? Before the accident happens, all these inputs are coming. They will be able to process those inputs and avoid an accident. Right? Self-driven car has to be thinking. So all these experiences has to be translated into neural network models to be able to take the decision for the car machinery algorithm to be able to avoid an accident. So you see, this is just like a car. The world has a car, the car is just going to become more and more efficient, the car is not going to go for a very long time. Okay, unless we have been talking about futuristic world, into the cars is just fine, maybe. Okay, it's all good to imagine, but this thing is going to stay, at least for the lifetime that we have in this world. Okay, so it's a good question, is good. What it should tell us that is that, because when we were growing up, when I was in IIT, people said, oh, job is a craze, job is a craze. The moment I entered the job, something else became a craze, some other language. And it becomes so difficult to follow so many changes that's happening, okay? And many people said, okay, forget about this whole software industry, will not even work for that, people just choose some other career, okay? But later on, I can feel as long as you know programming, switching to the language is not a big task, So, I don't even ask people which languages you know. Do you know programming or not? And I just ask simple questions of programming, and then able to analyze people's ability to be able to solve a problem. I recruited on those basis. I don't recruit on the knowledge of the language. Okay. Why am I telling you this thing? Is that your investment in artificial intelligence, machine learning, is going to be like that. The other thing is changing, but the core concepts remain the same. Okay, and it's going to be remain the same for the rest of your life. So if you're going to invest on this thing, okay, it's not going to be a wasted investment. Oh, I learned how to make wheels, now no one wants wheels, so my skill became wasted. Yeah. Many of the people, factory workers, they lost their job because they could not upgrade their skills. The factory demanded a particular kind of skills from a particular person for a particular period of time. The moment those industries changed, they automated, all those skilled laborers were useless. This is not going to be like that. This industry is completely different. If you know the basic rules, you will be able to adjust and modify yourself so that you will be able to keep on giving solutions to the industry. Okay. So that's what my 2 cents on this whole IT question was.
Anything else?
Okay, thanks a lot for your time. I will appreciate if you have any questions, you can come to your teacher, and if you need the presentation, you can also take it from your teacher. Okay, it was nice time talking to you people.
Thank you,
Have a
sir.
nice
Thank
day.
you so much for
Goodbye.
this wonderful morning. It's a great learning literally. Thank you so much. As you all know, sir is Mohammed Javed Khan, sir, I think. Yes, sir is a senior data scientist. I was about to introduce you, sir. He just started